Hey everybody, Scott Hogan coming at you. We're here, we're in the studio. We're going to talk a little bit about the driver today. We're going to talk about two things that I really talk to people a lot about that really make the driver different than other clubs, where otherwise it's pretty much the same as what you're doing with your other stuff in your swing. Hey everybody, Scott Hogan coming at you. Before we head into that studio bay, we are going to talk about a little bit of that driver, so we'll get there. But before that, I just wanted to announce we have our Working on Your Swing boot camp. We've got that starting up next week. So if you're interested in getting some coaching for a month, basically working on your swing, we send in videos. It lets you have conversations about your swing. Make sure you check that link out down below. We've had some really good success with that online program, and want to share it with you, and we're going to start it up, especially if we're getting outside and getting to the season. So check that out down below. And now let's get into the driver. So driver is easily one of the things I get asked about the most. And when you're working inside, you know, we've documented with Mevo Plus that the driver spin rate for me is high. It looks like you need a little bit more flight to get a better read, but what you could still work on is controlling the ball and getting that ball into play and getting some of your numbers correct. So when you go outside, you're going to see some of that benefit. So we're going to talk about those two things right now. And without further ado, let's hop into the bay. All right, so we're here, we're working on the driver. You know, the number one thing that people come in when they're coming in to get help with their games, or they're asking me about their units, is how do I hit the driver and get it more under control? I'm having some inconsistencies where, oh man, I feel like I hit my irons really good and I cannot hit the driver really well, and I'm getting weird readings or weird numbers and all this other stuff. So it's a common problem, not just for people that have launch monitors and stuff. It's something that is easily the number one question I get asked. Now, the first thing I always like to preface it with is your swing probably needs work. When people come in and are asking about their driver, the first thing I'll have them do is grab, a 7 or an 8 iron and hit some shots. We'll get it on film, and I'll explain to them why their swing just needs some work. And what happens is when you're hitting a club with less loft, your 9 iron, 8 iron, pitching wedges, those clubs will go straighter by default because they put more backspin on the ball and less side spin. So you can make a swing that is very similar with your driver, and the driver is going to be way more crooked because it's not going as far, and it's also got a little bit different spin dynamics as you're going to hit that shot. Now, when you get to the driver, because this thing has more speed, it's going farther, you're going to get the ball curving sideways a lot more often. And that's just the nature of the club, partly. You have to accept the fact that driver is not a very accurate club, but you also have to know that, hey, I might need to look at my golf swing here. Now, we're going to put that part aside. I have to preface with that. We're going to put that part aside, and let's talk about two reasons why you could be getting differences in your ball flight, assuming that your swing is looking fairly good as you're going through, okay? So the first thing is you have to look at contact with the driver. So if you are making contact on a driver and you are hitting it on the heel or the toe, what ends up happening is you get the exact opposite effect that you would get with an iron. With an iron, if I hit one on the toe, it opens the face, the ball starts to go a little right. If I hit it on the heel and I don't shank it, I'm going to have the face shut and it's going to go a little left. With the driver, it is the exact opposite because there is something called gear effect. All right? So when you hit the ball, drivers, because they're hollow, the way they are built, the driver expands, it wraps around the ball, and it actually tries to save you. So we get what's called a toe hook, a ball that's hit on the toe and hooks. It can be helpful if you just barely hit it on the toe, but if you're hitting it way out on the toe, it's going to cause a pretty ugly hook to the left. Vice versa, if you are hitting it on the heel and it's going to the right, it's going to go to the right, you're going to get a heel fade, and that ball is going to go shorter. It has a lot of spin on it, and it's not very accurate as well. So it's just something we have to know with the driver, that we have to check where we're hitting it. Now, my favorite way to do it is take some Dr. Scholl's. You can see I've got my club face nice and sprayed up here. I can just hit some shots here now and see where I'm putting that driver onto the ball. So you can see that ball pretty good. A little bit center there, just maybe a fraction on the toe side. I actually don't mind that one at all, but I could keep doing that. If you're somebody that struggles with hitting one on a specific part of the face, what do I say you need to do? You need to work on hitting it on a different part of the face. Sounds like it should be simple, but if you're somebody that, let's say you hit the ball onto the heel of that driver, so you're coming in and the heel is coming in first, or you're going over the top first, you need to work on ways that you can get the toe part to the ball first, all right? So what we'll do is we'll have people actually with this spray on try to hit shots on purpose on different parts of the face, okay? On purpose, you're trying to spread it across the face. Now, when we need help with that, what I'll do a lot of times is I'll put 2 tees on the side of the golf ball, okay? So I'm going to tee it up in the middle. I've got 2 tees on the side, and so let's say I was hitting it on the heel. Well, if I'm hitting it on the heel, that means I would be hitting this outside tee. So what I have people focus on is you got to hit the ball, but you're trying to take the inside tee out as well. It has a really good effect on their swing where they start seeing how they have to not early extend into the ball, how they have to maintain some distance, and that path and how they square the face up to make that happen becomes really, really good too. So it's a great drill to do to start understanding how you can deliver the center of the club back to the ball. So hitting it in the middle of the face, that is critical to being able to hit your driver relatively straight and relatively far. All right, so let's get into the second thing that happens when people are hitting their driver and why they start to lose a lot of control with the driver. So one of the things that we have to do for the driver, we're hearing a lot about this, and it's a good thing, is you're trying to hit up on your driver. You're trying to get that attack angle to be positive. Again, that's a good thing. That helps you hit it farther, takes some spin off the ball. That's going to lead to more control. So what will happen is then we start moving the ball forward in our stance. Again, that's a good thing. But the farther and farther you move it forward, you have to be aware of what that does to how the club is swinging, okay? So if I start moving the ball forward, what I like to show people is I give them this hula hoop here and give them kind of a basic idea of what's going on in a golf swing. As I start moving the ball forward on this arc, by the time the club comes back in, it's going to be traveling more to the left than it was previously. So if you're somebody that struggles with, let's say, hitting a slice, if you start moving the ball more forward, you're going to continue having that leftward path. Now, it can work out sometimes because by moving it forward, you have more time to square the face. So what ends up happening is you hit this kind of pull shot that's not a slice, so it feels kind of good. You can get that, and it ends up working out pretty decently. So that's something you have to pay attention to, but it's going to promote more of a fade slash slice swing as you start to move that ball forward, all right? So what do we have to do to combat that? Well, the first thing I like to do is, one, you first off combat it by making sure you're getting the face closed, all right? So check the face out and where you're going. The second thing that I will do to combat this is, as we're setting up, I want to feel like I'm getting a little bit of tilt away from the ball and away from the target, let's say. So you're going to feel like you're behind the ball and behind the target here a little bit as you're tilting. And the reason we do that is because as I tilt, notice what it does to the club as we're going down. You're going to see that club is going to travel more from the inside going into that golf ball. So you have to battle that with a little bit of tilt as you're going. Now, if you're somebody that can't tilt a whole lot, I am not somebody that can tilt a ton, so how do I combat that? Well, what I end up having to do is, because I'd rather hit up on my driver, I have to square off my stance and actually close it a little bit. So we just talked about if you're not able to tilt as much and you have that ball moving forward and you get in the face square, you're going to hit more of a pull. That's what I do. I have a little bit more of a closed stance, and I'm playing more of a pull draw with my driver. That's just, I've accepted that that's the best way for me to do it, and so that's what I'm going to do. If you're somebody that can tilt and do some more of that tilting action, you won't have to do that. But just keep that in mind as you're doing this. There's plenty of ways to do it, and the way that gets it into the fairway is really the one that we want, and the one that makes you feel confident in hitting the ball really far is the one you want. So for me, as I go through, you'll see this, especially if you see me outside playing, but I get this right foot back, and I get my shoulders squared up, so when I move the ball forward and I'm hitting up, I can just shut the face. I'm still swinging out at it based on the target line, but I'm just going to kind of hit like a little bit of what feels like a pull, draw. That works for me, okay? So again, we're just kind of working on what we have, what goes on when we start moving that ball position forward in our swing. So that's what we're looking at with the driver. Two things that if it truly is a driver issue, that's the first thing. It's truly a driver issue and not a swing issue. Then that's what we're looking at. Those are pretty much the two biggest things that we work on as far as getting that angle of attack right and getting that contact right. That's really going to help you out. So if you have questions about it, please comment down below. Let us know what you're having issues with it, but try these two things out. Get some spray, probably the best thing you can have in your bag to work on your driver, and then see what you can do going forward from there. So thank everybody for watching. Again, if you have any questions, comment below. Click that subscribe button if you like the video. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.